Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us. As you know, I'm Dr. Savvy, this is Dr. Steph, and we wanted to come at you with a video today. We used to do live workshops in the office all the time to talk about, not only what health is and kind of changing your perspective on that, but also giving you exercises that you can do at home. But I know everyone's busy, life is crazy, we totally understand that as moms. So we wanted to come at you with a video so that you could be able to watch us out of the comfort of your own home from your computer and not have to make it out here to a live workshop. So I hope this is beneficial for you. But one of the biggest things that we talk to people about is how they view health. And I think we have a pretty skewed view on what health is. When we're talking to people all day long, the number one thing that we get is what? Health is based off of how I
feel.
Yes, health is based off how I feel. If you feel good, you must be healthy. If you don't feel good, we must be sick. Well, I'm gonna tweak that just a little bit. Who here, well, this is not a live workshop, but you can raise your hand from your computer. So who has ever gotten a fever? Like everyone's gotten a fever, or their kid's gotten a fever, right? And most people think, well, if I get a fever, I'm sick, right? I mean, as moms, like when Zane gets a fever.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the worst thing ever. I feel so bad because I know he doesn't feel well. But then I remember, once again, it's the smartest response for the body to be able to fight that virus naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually the body's first line of defense. Yeah, we feel like crap when we have a fever, right? But who here has ever gone camping, right? I mean, if you were going camping and you ran out of water, you came across a stream, would you drink the water? No, probably not, right? Because there's all these viruses and bacteria. So in order to be able to drink that stream water, what would you do to it? You'd boil it, right? And you boil it to be able to kill off any of those viruses or bacteria. Now, wouldn't it be cool if our body had that same mechanism, right? We do, it's a fever. Anytime that our body detects any kind of foreign invaders, it's like, hey, you know what? We gotta kick up that internal temperature to be able to fight those things off. Now, number one thing that we jump to typically is medication, right? We're like, give some Tylenol or give some Motrin, right? And yes, those can absolutely be, there's a time and a place for it, but we really have to look at fever as being a good thing because it helps you get over those viruses or get over that bacterial infection faster, all right? So I'm kind of the weirdo. Like my husband always makes fun of me. Every time that I start to get a fever, I actually put on more clothes to be able to increase that internal temperature higher so that way I can get over that infection faster, right? We feel like crap, but actually one of the best and strongest immune responses that we have, right? That's a very smart response of our body. That means our body is healthy and it's working the way that it should, right? Even though we feel bad in that moment. Or, ever had food poisoning?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So food poisoning, right? I mean, your body is like, I just ate something. Its name is food poison, right? So we think, your body's like, I just ate something I shouldn't have. So all of a sudden, your body does everything it can to eject it, whether it be front end, back end, or through the skin, right? We try and get out of our body. Yes, I feel so sorry for people when they have food poisoning. It is the worst feeling in the world. I know I've had it, but what a smart response of your body to do. That's a healthy response of your body to do. Yeah. You literally have poison in you, right? So when we talk about this, fever, you feel like crap, or a food poisoning, you don't feel good. But they're really smart responses of your body, and it means your body is actually healthy and doing the thing it's supposed to. So I think we have to kind of twist it. Then on the other hand, unfortunately, we all know somebody who has been diagnosed with cancer at some point in their life. And unfortunately, when people usually realize it is when it's hit a later stage. It's usually when they start feeling what? Symptoms, right? Yeah.
Pain.
Yeah, exactly, pain or symptoms. And so a lot of times that's not till stage 3 or stage 4. Now, were they healthy before that point? No, I mean, we all know cancer takes years and years and years for those cells to mutate and form. However, it doesn't mean that they were healthy in that time that they didn't feel pain. They were sick that entire time, right? And what's crazy is only 10% of our nerves actually detect pain or symptoms. So pain or symptoms is not usually a good way to actually detect if we're healthy or not. It's the last thing to come on, and it's oftentimes the first thing to go away. What we do in the office is really look at health in a different way. Instead of basing our health on how we feel, it's gotta be more than that. It's gotta be how our body's actually functioning, all right? Now, as you guys probably remember, during your second day in here, we went through all of your scans with you because we wanted to see, well, how is your body functioning, all right? And as we know, our body functions, what controls every function in our body?
The nervous system.
It's that nervous system, right? And so that's what we talk about over and over and over here is the nervous system and how it's functioning, all right? So our nervous system, just to give you guys a little recap here, our nervous system is that brain, that spinal cord, and then all of these spinal nerves that come out and control every single cell, tissue, muscle, organ, and every system in our body, right? This is really important. It's our master control system. Now, what happens is stress can impact the way that our nervous system actually functions. Say this bone right over here, T2, say it misaligns, right? This is actually the nerve going right to the heart area. If it misaligns even a little bit, right? And we're talking a millimeter of movement, right? Then all of a sudden, it decreases that nerve function by up to 60%. All right, that's a huge amount. Do you think if that's misaligned, that brain is properly gonna be able to communicate to that heart? Probably not, right? Or what about what's going into that large intestines? Do you think your body's gonna be able to have the motility that it needs, right? To be able to get things out? No, probably not, right? All of a sudden there's dysfunction in our body. And we know that over time that dysfunction leads to disease. So we really look at the body and how is it functioning to get your nervous system to function exactly the way that it's designed to. And that's what we're looking at. But you might ask, well, what kind of stress can there actually be on our nervous system? We call it the 3 T's in here, all right? And it can either be physical stress, meaning trauma. It could be chemical stress or toxins, or it could be emotional stress, which is thoughts, all right? So the 3 T's, or physical, chemical, and emotional stress. And all of this creates what we call subluxation, just meaning, fancy word, stress on the nervous system, all right? Any kind of interference from the brain to the rest of your body, interfering with the way that your body is actually able to grow, thrive, and develop and heal itself, all right? So when we talk about this, there's different types of physical stress. Many of you guys would associate this with chiropractic, okay? But all of these things can cause interference to our nervous system. So physical stress could be sitting. How much do we see that every single day?
Every single day.
Oh my gosh. Everybody that comes in, I mean, so many people are like, oh yeah, I sit at a computer desk 4, 6, 8, 10 hours a day, right? That has a huge impact on our body. We actually call sitting the new smoking, right? And I didn't coin that term, I promise. But it's so detrimental on our health. Also, I know we got a couple tummy sleepers here, all right? When you're sleeping on your stomach, your head is cranked from side to side, which means that's placing a lot of stress on this upper back and onto the nerves going into that lower back too, okay? So that is another physical stress. Car accidents, we've all seen that. I mean, imagine this, like if it can crush metal, right? what impact could it have to your spine? In fact, a lot of things happen to us earlier on in life, but those pain receptors aren't fully developed till when we're in our mid-20s. So things can happen way before, and we never feel it till later on in life. Once again, only 10% of those nerves detect pain, right? Also, falls. I mean, even going back to childhood, right? We don't have to even talk about falls that like you might get in sports, or that you had snowboarding or skiing, or one night in college, right? I mean, this could even be dating back to just early childhood. By the time a kid's 5 years old, it's estimated that they fall 15,000 times. I mean, that's a huge amount, right? Think about your little ones when they're learning to crawl. I mean, I have an 8.5-month-old right now, right? And as he's learning to crawl, he's constantly falling down. As he starts to pull up, he's constantly falling down, right? This is a normal part of development. However, it can definitely have an impact on our spine and on our nervous system, right? Or even dating back to the day that you were born, right? In a natural vaginal birth, OBs are still trained to use 60 to 90 pounds of pressure, pulling baby out by the top part of the neck, right? And when they're doing that, they're pulling and twisting to yank baby out, right? So when we're looking at that, you think about 60 to 90 pounds of pressure onto that neck, and usually what, a 6 to 9 pound baby?
Yes.
I mean, that's crazy. That's a lot of
force.
Yeah, that's a lot of stress. Or if we have a forceps delivery, vacuum extraction, C-section delivery, which we're seeing more and more common in today's society, then they're actually using upwards of 120 pounds of pressure. So 60 to 120 pounds of pressure on a little baby, that can definitely have an impact. That's why we always recommend that we see people as early on as possible. Now let's talk a little bit about the chemical stress. I mean, one of the biggest things, and most people have already kind of started to dive into that when they start realizing like they want to get healthier, is food. And so when we talk about food, let's talk about eating real food, right? And organic food. Anything that has herbicides, pesticides on it, right? Our body doesn't know how to process and digest. Even looking at the type of food and the different additives in the food and the different preservatives in the food. Look on the back of a food label. I mean, if there's things that you can't pronounce, your body does not know how to turn that into energy and to turn that into nutrition to fuel your body, all right? So looking and making sure that we're eating real food. Also, just body care, right? The things that we're putting on our skin. I mean, our skin is our largest organ. And when we put things directly on our skin, it's directly absorbed into our bloodstream. So when we look at this, we don't have a filtering process like we do if we're able to ingest something, right? We have our liver and our kidneys to be able to filter things out. Not when we put it directly on our skin. So being cognizant of what we're putting on both in and on our body. But also medications too. I mean, when we're looking at medications, first of all, crazy statistic here, but the US makes up 5% of the population, but we consume 80% of the drugs produced in the world right here in this country. I promise, we do not have a lack of prescriptions here, right? That's not where health is coming from.
No.
In fact, I mean, Dr. Steph used to work in a pharmacy before chiropractic school. I mean, she's the first one to tell you,
Absolutely.
we see a crazy amount of drugs being consumed here in the US. And when we look at this, I mean, the whole point of medications is to change the physiology of the body, to change the function of the nervous system, right? Of course that has an impact and places stress on that nervous system. Plus, I mean, you look at a insert on medications and what kind of things do we see on there?
The list goes on and on. And then the other thing is not only is taking one medication an issue, you have all of those side effects, but now those side effects will interact with another medication that you're taking side effects. So these just continue to exponentially continue to grow side effects.
Yeah, definitely. And then also emotional stress too. I mean, who here has ever had emotional stress, right? I mean, who here works? Like, that is emotional stress. Or stay-at-home moms. I mean, they have the hardest job that there is, keeping up with the little ones all day long. I always say, I don't know how you guys do it. You are angels, right? But maybe you have some deadlines, or, you know, maybe your boss is being a little hard on you, or those little ones, they're just driving you crazy. That can be some stress, right? Also, finances, right? Or money. That's number one cause of divorce. Of course that it can be a stressor on your nervous system, right? Marriage or relationships, right? I mean, I always give the example, there can be really positive relationships, or there can be relationships that are a little strained sometimes, right? I love my husband, and he is wonderful, but sometimes his parents come along and they're a little stressful sometimes, right? So that can be stress on my nervous system, and I always make sure that Dr. Steph adjusts me before and after those in-laws come in town to make sure I'm reducing that stress.
Body to handle that stress better.
Yeah, and so that's what we're doing with chiropractic, is we're allowing your body to better handle stress. If you think about this, think about all of these different stressors as like a drop in a bucket, right? And all of a sudden that water starts to fill up. What we're doing is allowing it to not start overflowing. We're just giving you a bigger bucket so that your body can handle these things, so it can heal and so it can adapt, because our body is self-healing. When we cut ourselves, right? I mean, the Band-Aid's not what heals it, right? It's our body. It's our nervous system, ultimately. So, not only do we want to change kind of how we view health and what we're doing in here, but we also want to give you guys some exercises that you can do at home too. And Dr. Steph's going to go into this, because the biggest thing that we see is people, like we kind of talked about earlier, that physical stress, sitting for a decent amount of the day. So she's going to jump into some of the things that you can do at home so we can really get the best results in the office.
Absolutely. So when we're sitting all the time, a lot of us spend most of our day sitting. There's muscles that get tight, and then there's some that get weak. And so what we want to do is make sure that we are balancing out both of these muscle groups. So I'm going to show you guys a couple things we can do. First, let's work on these weak ones. One exercise that you guys can do at home to help encourage not only to hold your adjustments better in the neck, but also to encourage that nice C-shaped curve that we talk about in the office all the time. This is going to be the turtle exercise, and what I want you guys to do is you're going to actually push your chin backwards, almost like we're making that double chin there, okay? And you're going to try to do this as many times as you can. One place you can do this, in the car every day we're driving, right? And so sitting at a red light, something great that you can just add into your daily routine to help encourage, like I said, not only to hold those adjustments better, but also to encourage that nice C-shaped curve.
Absolutely. I mean, because you think about it, when you're sitting at a desk, most of us don't have this great posture. What we notice is this, what we call forward head posture, or text neck, right? We're either looking at a computer, we're texting down like this, right? And that neck starts to straighten out. So yeah, that's a perfect exercise to do to be able to strengthen the muscles deep on the front part of the spine, those deep neck flexors that she talked about. And yeah, obviously it's gonna help to hold your the adjustments in your neck a lot better. So that'll be huge for you guys.
Yeah. So also I'll have Dr. Savvy demonstrate, but when we're stooping over like this, we're also causing these muscles in between the shoulder blades to become weak. So this is an area that we definitely want to address as well. What you can do at home to help strengthen that area is what's called bent over rows. And so what you can do using a chair or a stool, you can put your knee up here and one side at a time, bend down and grab either a kettlebell or a lightweight at home, and you're gonna go ahead and just bring that shoulder back. As you're doing that, your goal is to squeeze those shoulder blades together and bring them together so that you really feel that in that center part of your back.
Yeah, I mean, you just want to squeeze that those shoulder blades as much as possible, because that muscle group, the rhomboids, gets super weak when we're just hunched over like that.
One more exercise that you guys can do, another one that becomes so weak in that stooped over posture, is our core. Our core is so important for so many different biomechanical functions. So a couple exercises that you can do at home are the plank. And so I'm going to demonstrate a plank. And so you're gonna come up on your arms here, and you're gonna try to keep that body nice and parallel to the floor like this.
Yeah, you want this nice and straight. You don't want that butt coming up or your back sinking down.
Right. Once you feel that you're falling out of that position, go ahead, give yourself a little break, and then you can come back up into it when you're ready.
Now, Dr. Steph, what would you say, because a lot of people ask, like, how long should I hold this? What would you say?
So you want to go ahead and hold it until your body is, once you start feeling that weakness coming about that core, you don't want to hold it in the wrong position because this is going to cause more issues. Yeah. So hold it as long as you feel comfortable, as long as you're doing that correctly.
Yeah, great. And then,
okay. And one more exercise that we can also do is the Superman. And so that's going to help strengthen those back extensor muscles. And so for this, you're going to lie on the ground. And you're gonna go ahead and bring these legs up while you're bringing your arms back as well, just like this, arching the back.
Yeah, you can either put the arms back or you can put it forward, whatever's more comfortable for you. Also, sometimes people might not be able to do both at the same time, so you could just do arms, raising that up, or you could just do legs if you wanted as a modified version.
Yes, exactly. All right, so let's move on now into which muscle groups we want to help loosen up, and these are going to be the muscles that get really over-contracted when we're sitting in that stooped posture. So one of the first ones that we want to talk about is that pec minor muscle. So this is going to be the muscle here right just in front of the shoulder in the pec area. And what you can do...
If you don't know where this is, by the way, just ask one of us to dig into this on you at your next appointment. You'll be like, ah!
Yes, exactly. A very tender area. We sell these yoga tune-up balls in the office. They're great. I promise we don't have stock in them. We hold them here in the office for you guys to benefit from, to help use at home, to help loosen up these contracted areas. So I've got one here. I'm going to just show you guys an example of how you can do this at home. You can come up against a wall here, set the ball there, and you're gonna push right into that tender area like Dr. Savvy was saying, over that pec minor, and you're just gonna dig into that. And it's gonna be one of those hurt so good feelings. You wanna make sure that you're feeling that deep, as if you were getting like a deep tissue massage, okay? And just work into that area. One more area that you can also work on to help our body in the normal anatomical position is like this, right? And so when we're sitting at a desk, most of the day, we end up putting our hands this way, typing at a computer or texting on our phone. So here, another muscle that gets really tight is gonna be that pronator muscle here on the arm. And so one way that you can loosen that one up is go ahead and take the ball, and you're actually gonna work transverse to those fibers. So the fibers run this way. We wanna make sure that we're running that ball right over that muscle group.
Yeah, if you dig into your, if you take your fingers and just dig in right below your elbow, but on the front side here, I mean, you'll feel it. It's definitely tender, especially if you're doing a lot of computer work. And some people come in complaining of tingling coming in the arms or, in the hands, and that can be coming from the neck area. And so we're obviously checking that in the office, but also those nerves can get impinged in what we call this brachial plexus area, but it can be impinged by the pec minor right here. So that the wall ball exercise that she just showed you, that'll be huge for that. It can also, that median nerve can get entrapped right in there. It runs right through there. So people might feel numbness or tingling, especially going into those first 3 fingers over there. So using that ball as much as possible, just going transversely across the fibers, like she said, is gonna be huge. You can even I tell people, take one of these balls, keep it at work, and when you have a break, you're reading emails, just go back and forth with that. You can't do this too much, honestly, with as much time as we're doing setting each day.
Exactly. So another area what's really common is getting that pain that's radiating down into the legs. And so a lot of times that's caused by an overcontraction of the piriformis muscle, and that's going to be a muscle just right over that buttock area. So another exercise you can do at home is go ahead and take this ball here, and you're actually just gonna sit right on top of it, and you'll feel that tender point right over that buttock, and you're just gonna work from side to side right over that muscle to help loosen that contraction, all right? And so once again, it's a really sore, tender area, but you wanna work it out to make sure that you lessen the contraction so it doesn't put any pressure on that sciatic nerve. Another one as well, those paraspinal muscles also tend to get really tight in that low back area.
Those are going to be the muscles on either side of the spine right over here. And sometimes when we're adjusting, you guys, we'll dig into certain areas and we'll be like, ah, you know, that's tender in there. Yeah, those are those paraspinal muscles over there.
Exactly. So when these guys are in this packet here, they're actually perfectly lined up to go right over that spine. So you can actually lay down on the ground and just roll up into these right over the spinal muscles, which are those muscles on each side of the vertebra. And I can show you, you can just lay down.
This feels really good too.
Go ahead and put some pressure there and just roll back and forth like this, and you'll feel that on each side of that spine.
Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to mention too that gets really tight is since we are sitting for most of the day, the muscle, which is going to be your psoas muscle, or your iliopsoas is the full name, fancy name for it. But this is the hip flexor. So anytime that we're sitting, right, that's completely engaged. And not only do I see this in people that are sitting, but in a lot of pregnant moms too. Mm-hmm. That muscle gets really, really tight. I promise, guys, this can be really tight in you guys too. But this is going to be a really good stretch to stretch that piriformis, the iliopsoas, right, or that hip flexor. So you can get into kind of a runner's position. If you don't know what that looks like, you're just kind of like you're starting a race, okay? And so you want to make sure a couple things here. You want to make sure that the knee is not going over those toes, but you want to drop down into that leg that's going back here. What that does is the leg that's back is going to be the side that you're actually stretching. So that's going to be a really good way to get that. Pregnant mamas, if you look at that and you're like, there is no way I'm getting into that in my third trimester, don't worry, we have a modification for you, so just ask us, okay? It's using a bench, a couch, a bed, but we have another way to be able to stretch that so you don't have to get into that really low position. But that's gonna be really beneficial for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Don't worry, we have actually handouts. So next time you come in the office, make sure to ask Tara for that because it's your little cheat sheet to everything we just went over so you don't have to watch this continuously. But thanks so much for joining us. If you have any questions about any of this, just let us know and we will go through all of it. All right, thanks for joining.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.